Hello, it's Andre Kent Jr., and I want to talk a little bit about one of the divisions of the Young and Smart Company in their portfolio. So, the Young and Smart Company is operational as a C Corp, and we're a sole proprietorship. I'm sole proprietor, but we are taxed differently than most other companies would. And my sole proprietorship is ran separately than myself, and it is not ran or managed through my personal finances at all. We did a project called Church Operational Plan through AJ. AJ wanted to get a degree, and he was just chilling. He was kind of being an understudy. He was a producer, being a producer, producing many projects, getting his credibility, doing practice and training, and we were kind of forced to go to church. And of course, church is the last place that a 20-something-year-old wants to be in plenty of situations, which is fine, but we stayed there and we did what we had to do. And we eventually built a church called Fountain Life Ministry. And it's a full ministry program, completely separated from the rest of the business, and it remains as a standalone entity within our portfolio. So AJ went and he created Church Operational Plan, and he submitted it to Campbell University and their Doctorate of Divinity Studies program, where there are multiple levels for divinity studies. And we chose Campbell because it was different than ECU, what we're always accustomed to. It was different than the other colleges and university campuses that we're accustomed to. And we kind of just went with it. So the company paid for him to do the project, produce the project, and do everything concerning the program. And the program Church Operational Plan is a program that reorganizes churches to be compliant and to follow the protocol for being compliant as a church on the business side of a church, not on the personal, faith-based, spiritual, and religious aspects of being a part of a church. However, the building, the facilities, cleaning up, sanitation, what your congregation wears or what you're guiding them to wear, what the pastor wears, what the first lady wears, affording what the first lady wears and the pastor wears, church choir outfits, communion and doing communion, anniversaries, retreats. He did all of the aspects of the business side, the insurance, umbrella insurance, pest control, utilities, everything that it takes to manage a business. And with this being said, you would say, well, why is it needed? And a side note, 100,000 churches out of 800,000 churches, I was alerted and notified that they were closed down a few months ago for not being compliant and not following protocol. Not for what AJ turned in, but on a regular basis, they were fraudulently acting as a church, fraudulently acting as a ministerial program. And 100,000 churches out of at least 800,000 churches that the Church Operational Plan works for were closed and shut down and their licenses revoked. And we use First Citizens Bank for ours, but when we did the program, it's about a $200 billion program built through sweat equity, time and practice, training, and more of a competition in business, because the whole goal was to structure churches and church ministries to be compliant. So AJ got a commission from it, but the Young and Smart Company paid for him to go to school. They paid for his degree rights. They paid for him to go to school so we would be able to use what he obtained and the degree that he obtained for our company and for company purposes. And we asked him, what did he want to do with his degree? What do you want to do with it? You know, he was like, oh, I don't want to be a pastor. I don't want to be a minister. I don't want to be a deacon. I don't want to be something in the church that close and that sensitive and that touchy. where you have to go to school. You really have to feel for some of those positions. You really have to be motivated to be authoritative in those positions that where you can stay consistently on track and on the right path. So we asked him, well, then what do you want to do? And he decided that there was a building for sale in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Shout out North Carolina, shout out Wake Forest. And it was called the Corporate Chaplains of America. And we bought it as a company. And he said, I want to expand on that program, and I want to be a part of the Corporate Chaplains of America, but I want to do my own program. I want to arrange it the way I want to do it. I want there to be real judges, real bailiffs. I want there to be real opportunities for a jury to sit and listen to a case, but I want to use the funds, and I want it to be more of a philanthropic endowment. And I want it to be a social enterprise. That way it's not all about the money. It's not all about bringing in revenue. It's not all about making sales, but it's about getting down to the nitty-gritty and getting down to solving cases. He said he wanted to do creative problem solving, creative solutions, and he wanted to do things at a university mental state and mind state. And I was like, okay. The company, we backed him up. We started working on his program, expanding his program, and pretty soon the program grew. And the program continues to grow, but we use our finances to reinvest in the Corporate Chaplains Network and the Corporate Chaplain Center all the time. But we reformatted it, and I don't want people to think that it's not a legitimate program, but I want them to understand that the Corporate Chaplain Center is a standalone program. It's there to assist businesses, business owners, entrepreneurs, those that need help with their business finances, those that need help securing a co-signer, those that need help securing a guarantor, or want the Corporate Chaplain Center to do discovery work where they might have a pending lawsuit or a class action lawsuit, anything that the corporate chaplain can hear. And these are court certified judges. They have licenses. They've been in the practice for many years. Except we discuss technology, we discuss startups, we discuss AI, we discuss entrepreneurship, business, how business affects the general public and the markets and the economy. And we also hear cases. We do discovery work behind the cases. We do investigations behind cases. We question people. We do depositions. And the Corporate Chaplain Center, although it is under the Young and Smart Company umbrella, it is a standalone. It's almost like the United Nations, but it's not the United Nations. It has courtrooms, multiple courtrooms. It has been planned out across 22 different countries. And as a standalone program, it has its own sovereignty. And these are binding arbitrations, binding mediations, or if the judge is the one to hear the case, what they decide is the outcome based on their training and their experience, or what the law is, that is what it is. The Young and Smart Company may oversee the program, but it completely operates independently of any other authority. It operates as the Corporate Chaplains Network. And, you know, like you see court shows on television such as All Rise, and where it's a brand new court judge. That's one of the programs we tried to purchase to make sure that they understand that when we do cases inside of the Corporate Chaplains Network, we can write realistic events into fictional stories to depict in film, media, short videos, shorts, and content to make sure that people understand that they do have options. But I want everybody to be clear that it is a real courthouse decisions, real deliberations, real judgments from within the United States and those other countries, but the United States leads the Corporate Chaplains Network and the Corporate Chaplains teams. And to hear a case, you can submit a case for arbitration and mediation similar to you do with JAMS. And we are working towards expansion. It's only been operational since about 2020, 2021. So I just want to put this disclaimer out there. Be careful around there. They're not tied to the Young and Smart Company or Young and Dumb Agency directly. They are their own standalone program. They're not there for the church. They're not there for the ministry unless they submit a case. They're not ran by the church.